Walk Away, a guide to letting go of past relationships. Hi guys, my name is Christine and I'm a dating, relationship and personal development coach. And today I'm talking about walking away and how to let go of a past relationship. So the first thing that I want to talk about is being easy on yourself, because you're not going to be able to get over someone overnight. Obviously, it kind of depends on how long you're with the person. If you're only with someone for a few days, then that might be a lot easier to get over. But if you were with someone for, let's say, like a few years, then that's going to be a lot harder to get over, because you've got a lot of emotional connection to that person. You've got a lot of emotional investment in that person, and the breakup was probably a lot tougher on you than as opposed to a relationship that only lasted a few days. So you need to be easy on yourself and realize that it's going to take time. You're not just going to just forget about them overnight. You're going to need a bit of time to heal and get over it, because it's not easy to go through a breakup. It does hurt, it does suck, it doesn't feel nice, and you need to acknowledge that and realize that you're not just going to forget about them overnight. So that's kind of like the first thing that I want to talk to you about. Just be easy on yourself, give yourself some time, and don't just expect that you can just get over it instantly, okay? Because if you're a regular human being, then it's going to take you a little bit of time to get over it, because it was an emotional experience. And especially if you didn't want the breakup to happen and you still love them, then it's probably going to take even more time for you to get over it. But it is something that you can get over, okay? I want to give you some hope as well. You're not going to be in emotional turmoil forever, but it is going to take, a few months at least to get over this kind of situation, because it's not easy. It's not a nice thing to go through. So that's the first thing I want to point out. You need to give yourself a bit of time. So just relax, be easy on yourself. Don't expect that much, don't expect that you're just going to get over it quickly. And don't put that kind of pressure on yourself to get over this quickly, because most likely it's going to take you a while. And you don't want to also repress those feelings. So in order to fully let go of a relationship, there needs to be a time of healing. And obviously, one of the best ways that you can, heal over something is by getting some other kind of professional help. By going to a therapist and talking about it. But I know a lot of people can't afford therapists, because therapists can be quite pricey. So if you can't afford a therapist, especially if this was something big, a big breakup, and it was with someone who you didn't want to let go of, it was with someone who you was with for a long time, and you're going through a lot of emotional turmoil, then seeking a therapist would be obviously a really good thing for you to do to help you process what has happened. But if you can't afford a therapist, which I know a lot of people can't, then I suggest that you do something a little bit more practical. Try and get over it yourself. And most of the time people can get over relationships themselves. They don't really need any kind of external thing to help them. A lot of people can get over these things within themselves, right? So one thing that's going to help is if you write it down. And when I talk about writing down, I like to make the emphasis of make sure that you're writing it just for you. Don't write down the relationship and what happened with the expectation that someone's going to read it. Just write an honest account for you. It might be the case that you might want to throw it away afterwards as well, because there might be some embarrassing things in there, because, we all do embarrassing things in relationships. I don't think anyone has not done an embarrassing thing in a relationship, or something that they regret, right? We all do things like that. So it's important that you write down basically all the things that you kind of keep on stewing over in your head, because especially this is how you know basically if you need to write this down, or if you need to seek a therapist over this kind of thing. And that is if you keep on reliving certain memories in your head about the relationship. And the reason why you keep thinking about it and it keeps you awake at night, or it just dominates your thoughts a lot, is because you haven't quite got over it yet. That's the reason why you have yet to forget about those things. You haven't yet processed it properly. That's why you keep reliving it in your head. Your head is basically telling you something. It's saying, this is an important memory. You need to think about this, right? So in order to kind of make those memories and those thoughts more clear, you need to write them down. You need to discuss them, right? And again, like I said, do not write it as if someone's going to read it. Don't write it with the expectation that your ex is going to read it. Don't write it in a way that you're going to like publish it as a memoir. Write it simply just for you. Write down those experiences, those memories that keep on haunting you, and then kind of ask yourself some questions about those memories, like how did this make me feel? What did I learn from this? How did this change my view on people? How did this change my view on relationships? How did this change my view on the world? Ask yourself these kinds of questions and answer them by writing them down. So basically going through it all, writing an honest account, being full in your account as well. So don't just like skip bits, don't BS yourself, write the full thing down. And then burn it and get rid of it if you're embarrassed by it and you don't want anyone to read it. Like, you can flush it down the toilet, do what you want, but the important thing is you get it down on paper. And another thing as well, you might feel better for a few days and then you might start thinking about those memories again. If you start thinking about those memories again and you start obsessively thinking about those memories again, then I'm afraid you're going to have to write them down again. Sometimes you need to go through it and write these kinds of things down a few times in order to make sense of it. And I've done this kind of thing with a lot of traumatic experiences that I've gone through, not just relationship experiences, but other kinds of events that happened to me, especially when I was a young child and a teenager. Like, I write those things down a lot. And sometimes I have to repeat it and write it down again in order to process it even more. And then I start to feel a lot better about it. But it does help. And this is something that has helped me. And the first time I heard about doing this kind of thing was from Self-Authoring by Jordan Peterson. And that equipment, that program that he made, really helped me process a lot of bad stuff that I went through. And those kinds of things don't haunt me as much now because I went through that process. So I highly recommend that you do write these kind of situations down, these experiences with your ex, because that's going to help you heal over it. If you're enjoying the video so far, then please leave a like on it and please do subscribe if you haven't done so already. Okay, so next you need to take time then to reconnect with yourself. You can do these things simultaneously, by the way. This is not like you do the writing down thing and then you do the reconnecting with yourself. You can do these things simultaneously. You can do these things today, both of these things. So take them time to reconnect with yourself, because it might be, especially if you were in a long-term relationship or a lot of your time was consumed with this person that you're trying to walk away from, that you're trying to let go of and try to get over, right? So if you've had a lot, basically you want to go back to who you was before you ever came into contact with this person. So this means like reconnecting with old hobbies that you may have stopped doing, reconnecting with friends that you may have stopped talking to, because let's be honest, when we get into a relationship, sometimes we have to sacrifice other parts of ourselves in order to focus on our relationship. This is something very common. Sometimes you don't see your friends as much. Sometimes you stop doing hobbies that you once did. This is all very common things that happen when you get into a relationship, especially when you have things like children as well. These people that you bring into your life take up a lot of your time. So, start going back to that person who you was before you entered the relationship. And if you're unsure, like let's say you met this person when you was 15 years old, and because you met them when you was 15, you didn't know yourself yet, and it's now been 10 years and now the breakup has happened and you have no idea who you are without this person. So if that's you and you have no idea who you are, and this might be who you are anyway, perhaps you didn't really know yourself very much anyway, even if you were with them for just a couple of years and it wasn't someone who you met when you was young, and then follow your curiosity. And what I mean by following your curiosity is because if you don't know what your passion is, and by the way, if you want to know what your passion is, I highly recommend that you watch this video on how to find your passion in under 20 minutes. So following your curiosity is really important. And it could be just the fact that you're just scrolling through social media one day, or you're flipping through a magazine and you see something that kind of perks your interest. Perhaps it's something like chocolate, and you want to figure out, how was chocolate made? And you kind of research about that and figure that out. And then perhaps you want to become a chocolatier or something. Or you want to work in a chocolate factory, or you want to be a chocolate tester or something. Or it could be the case that you're looking through social media and you see something about like pixel art. That's something that was kind of like shown to me a few times when I was scrolling through Facebook and stuff. And I was like, pixel art, that kind of sounds interesting. Maybe I want to look into that one day. Stuff like that. So whatever perks your interest, and then research it, look into that and see what happens. See where your curiosity takes you. Keep on saying yes to whatever you become curious about. So, if you are going through social media one day or flipping through a magazine, or you're just watching TV and you see something that kind of like draws you in, basically, pay attention to that. Say yes to it. Learn more about those things. Figure out what those things are. Because that is basically your passion, who you are talking to you. Like, this is something you're interested in. Because you might be sitting next to your best buddy and you're watching the TV and this commercial comes on, this advertisement, and they might not be moved by it, or they might not care at all. They might be looking at the same thing as you, but have no interest in it whatsoever. But you do, right? And that's a part of you. That's a part of your soul. That's a part of who you are as a person, saying to you, this is important to you. It doesn't matter if it's important to everybody else, because we're all different. You might be watching, and the next advert comes on. They might be really interested in it, and you're not interested in it at all, right? So we're all individual people, and we all have different interests. This is something we know. So follow those things that you are interested in, because that is yourself calling to you, saying, pay attention, this is important to you, right? So follow that curiosity, follow your interests, and doing that will help you reconnect with yourself and with your passions and with your hobbies, especially if you have no idea what those things are. And if you do know what those things are, then obviously I don't really need to tell you what to do. You know that you should be focusing on your hobbies and the things that you like and the things that you enjoy. So the next thing I want to talk about is to avoid the path of self-destruction, which a lot of people don't do when they go through a breakup or go through some kind of emotional turmoil where they're trying to get over someone. The first instinct that someone usually wants to do when they break up with someone is, I'm going to call up all my friends and let's go party hard, right? And I know this because this is something that I definitely did. Like, I wanted to party whenever I went through a breakup. I wanted to get over it. But the thing is, with that kind of thing, is it can often lead to you doing things that you regret and that you're ashamed of, right? And that makes you feel even worse about yourself. So on top of the breakup, you've now got all these things that you feel guilty and ashamed about. So if you are to go out with your friends, because I'm not saying you can't do that kind of thing, just say to your friends, I've just gone through a breakup, my emotions are really raw, make sure I don't do anything stupid. You can ask them to do that, because you know what, if you go out and you're really upset still about the breakup, then you're probably going to party way too hard. So you need to make sure that your friends are kind of like taking care of you. So make sure that you do that. But obviously the best thing to do is obviously not to kind of stop yourself from partying too much, because it could often lead to things that you regret doing. And you don't want to do things that are going to make you feel even worse about yourself. We want to get you to a point where you feel better about yourself, where you feel nourished, where your soul feels happy. We don't want you to be even worse off, basically, because of this breakup. We want to get you to a place of empowerment, and we want you to feel good about yourself. We don't want you to feel regret or ashamed of your behavior and make you feel even worse about yourself. So, instead of focusing maybe on going partying and stuff, instead, why not focus on, following your curiosity and following your interests, like what I talked about previously, doing that kind of stuff instead, as opposed to, partying hard and then having many, many deep regrets afterwards and having all the photos of it reminded on Facebook or something. So we don't want to go for anything like that. And the last thing that I want to talk about, just very briefly, is just let time do its thing. Give yourself time. Give yourself time to get over it. It's going to take some time to be able to get over people. Obviously, there are things that you can do to help yourself make the process easier. That could be deleting your social media profiles or blocking your ex so you don't become obsessed and you start stalking them, or you feel the need to check up on them or check the last time they're online. Basically, you want to get rid of all of that kind of stuff. Don't look at their stories. Don't look at their photos. Obviously, you want to get your mind off of them completely. That's going to help speed up the process of letting them go. Because if you keep on looking at posts about them, looking at their social media profiles, if you're still talking to them in some way as well, this is all going to keep you stuck. It's not going to let you move on. It's not going to help you walk away from them. It's going to keep you stuck in place, and it's going to be even more slower, and it's going to take even more time to get over that relationship. And obviously, we want you to get over that relationship as soon as possible. We want you to get back on track as soon as possible. We want you to be feeling good as quick as possible. And unfortunately, you can't really do that if you still have your ex in your life in some way, whether you are talking to them or whether you are checking their social medias a lot and listening to music that reminds you of them. So that's kind of my advice on walking away and how to get over someone, how to let go of a relationship. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to get in touch with me personally, then please go to www.christineloveridge.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye, guys.